Disney spent decades and billions of dollars engineering how you feel the moment you step through its gates. The smells, the colors, and the music playing at just the right volume as you turn a corner. None of it is random. Every single sensory detail has been tested, refined, and deployed with one goal. Today, we're going inside the system. And by the end of this video, you won't be walking through a Disney park the same way again. Most people think the magic is about the rides, the IP, the fairy tales. Yes, those things matter. But thousands of theme parks around the world have rides and characters. Only one of them consistently ranks as the most emotionally intimate brand on the planet. MBLM's brand intimacy study ranked Disney #1 above Apple, Netflix, and Amazon. Not because of ride technology, but because of how Disney makes you feel in your body. The myth is that Disney's power comes from nostalgia and storytelling alone. The reality is that Disney operates more like a sensory psychology lab than an entertainment company. In 2016, the New York Times reported on something most Disney fans had no idea existed. Disney had built a dedicated research facility in Austin, Texas, running eye-tracking studies, biometric monitoring, and large-scale A/B testing on guests. Disney was literally measuring your body's involuntary reactions to figure out which colors, sounds, and spatial arrangements triggered the strongest positive emotional response. And then they were engineering those findings directly into park design. MIT researchers found that people in positive emotional states make purchasing decisions up to 15% faster, and with significantly less post-purchase regret. Let me introduce you to a term Walt Disney himself coined, the weenie. Walt used to say that every great street needs a weenie, a visual magnet at the end of it that pulls people forward. Cinderella's castle at the end of Main Street, USA. That's the original weenie. You see it the moment you enter the park. Your brain locks onto it. And without consciously deciding to, you start walking toward it. Now apply the same principle to pricing. The first financial anchor Disney sets is the park ticket itself. A single-day ticket to Walt Disney World can exceed $180 per person. That number lands in your brain as the reference point for the entire day. Now, when you're standing in front of a $14 cocktail or a $35 Spirit jersey, your brain runs a quick comparison. Against $180, $35 feels almost trivial. The anchor has already done its work. Here's why that matters behaviorally. When your brain has a strong positive anchor in place, it actively works to confirm that anchor. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. You arrive expecting magic, so your brain prioritizes the magical moments and deprioritizes the 45-minute queue or the $6 bottle of water. The anchor protects Disney's entire experience from your own critical evaluation. Now layer sunk cost psychology on top of that. Sunk cost bias is the tendency to continue investing in something because of what you've already spent, even when stopping would be the rational choice. Disney activates this on a massive scale before you even arrive at the park. The flights, the hotel, the vacation days taken from work. By the time your family is standing at the gate, you've already committed thousands of dollars and significant life logistics to this trip. According to travel industry research, guests staying at Disney resort hotels spend approximately 40% more per day inside the parks than off-site guests. That's not because on-site guests are wealthier. It's because the sunk cost of the resort stay psychologically commits them more deeply to the Disney spending ecosystem. Disney uses what Imagineers internally call smellitizers, scent delivery systems built directly into the park infrastructure. These are pressurized units, some mounted under benches, some embedded in walls and ventilation systems, that release precise quantities of specific scents at specific locations throughout the park. This works because smell is the only sense with a direct neural pathway to the amygdala and hippocampus, the brain's emotional processing and memory centers. It hits your emotional brain faster than any visual or auditory input. Disney is essentially injecting emotional states directly into your limbic system before your conscious mind has had a chance to process its surroundings. Now let's talk about sound. Disney's audio design operates on two levels simultaneously: content and tempo. The content level is straightforward. Each land has its own musical identity that reinforces the theme. But the tempo level is where the behavioral science gets fascinating. Research published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that slower music tempo in retail environments increases dwell time and spending. Faster tempo moves people through spaces more quickly. Disney uses this finding with surgical precision across different park zones. In high-traffic transition areas, pathways between lands, approaches to major ride entrances, the ambient music tempo is slightly elevated. It keeps crowd flow moving. In merchandise locations, food courts, and areas where Disney wants guests to linger and browse, the tempo drops. You slow down without noticing. You look around more. You spend more time and more money. Next, the color. Disney literally invented a proprietary color and gave it the name Go Away Green. It's a specific muted grayish green that appears nowhere in Disney's branding or theming. Its entire purpose is invisibility. Disney applies Go Away Green to anything inside the parks they don't want you to consciously notice: utility doors, backstage access panels, electrical boxes, trash compactors, service corridors. The color is specifically calibrated to blend into peripheral vision without registering as a point of visual interest. Your eye skips over it automatically. The psychology behind this is rooted in figure ground perception, the brain's tendency to separate visual fields into objects of focus and background. Go Away Green is engineered to always read as background. It never becomes figure. You have walked past dozens of service doors in Disney parks and never registered them because they were painted a color specifically designed to defeat your visual attention system. Disney also uses its color psychology offensively. Research in environmental psychology consistently shows that warm color palettes increase arousal and positive affect, while cooler palettes create calm. Disney maps color temperature to the emotional state they want guests to experience in each land: warmer and more stimulating in high-energy zones, cooler and more serene in transition spaces. Taken individually, any one of these sensory tactics is interesting, but Disney doesn't deploy them individually. They run simultaneously, continuously, and in coordination. You're smelling carefully selected scents while hearing tempo-calibrated music, while your visual attention is being directed away from backstage infrastructure and toward deliberately placed focal points, all at the same time. Disney's behavioral engineering doesn't stop at smells and colors. It extends into every micro-decision point of your visit, the moment you choose a meal, pick a lightning lane, or grab a limited edition pin off a display rack. Each of those moments has been engineered with specific psychological levers. Disney deploys scarcity psychology across multiple product categories with increasing sophistication. The mechanism is straightforward. Scarcity triggers loss aversion, which Kahneman and Tversky showed is roughly twice as powerful as the equivalent gain. Losing something hurts more than gaining the same thing feels good. Disney manufactures loss aversion artificially through limited releases. Similarly, Disney's queues are not just waiting areas. They are carefully designed narrative environments that serve a dual psychological purpose. First, they entertain and distract, reducing the perceived wait time relative to the actual wait time. Research on perceived versus actual wait duration consistently shows that engaged waiting feels shorter than idle waiting. Disney's elaborate queue theming is partly about experience and partly about making a 60-minute wait feel like 35 minutes. One more micro-tactic that is worth examining is the physical layout of merchandise within Disney stores and shop locations. Disney positions its highest margin impulse items at child eye level and at queue exit points. This is standard retail psychology, but Disney executes it with unusual precision. The exit of nearly every major attraction feeds directly into a themed merchandise location. You've just experienced an emotional peak, the dopamine response from completing a ride you've been anticipating. Your brain is flooded with positive affect. Your defenses are at their lowest. And the first thing you encounter is a wall of themed merchandise directly connected to the experience you just had. MIT consumer neuroscience research found that purchasing decisions made immediately following positive emotional peaks show significantly reduced price sensitivity. None of these tactics exist in isolation. They stack. Charm pricing sits on top of decoy options. Decoy options sit on top of scarcity signals. Scarcity signals sit on top of post-peak retail placement. And all of it operates simultaneously on a guest whose pain of paying has already been minimized by a magic band, whose rational brain has been kept in the back seat by 6 hours of continuous sensory immersion, and whose sunk cost commitment to the trip makes every additional purchase feel justified rather than excessive. The individual tactics are clever. The combination is something else entirely. But here's what most people miss. Everything we've covered so far operates inside the park boundaries. The smells, the music, the pricing architecture, and the queue psychology. That's all in park engineering. And yet Disney's most sophisticated psychological work doesn't happen while you're there. It happens after you leave, because a single visit was never the goal. The goal was always the next visit and the one after that. Disney isn't building a theme park experience, it's building a psychological cycle with no designed exit point. Let's start with how Disney encodes memories differently than almost any other experience you'll have. Psychologist Endel Tulving identified a distinction between semantic memory related to facts and information, and episodic memory pertaining to personal experiences embedded in emotional context. Disney's entire sensory architecture is optimized to create episodic memories of unusual intensity. When a memory is encoded with strong emotional and sensory context, it becomes easier to retrieve, and each retrieval strengthens the memory trace. Disney's sensory signatures act as retrieval cues that follow guests home. You hear a snippet of the Main Street Electrical Parade theme in a commercial 6 months later, and the entire emotional state of your visit floods back instantly. Now let's talk about identity. ZUMBLM's brand. Intimacy research identified Disney as the #1 most emotionally intimate brand in America for multiple consecutive years. Brand intimacy, in their framework, means the brand has become a part of how consumers define themselves. Disney engineers this identity integration systematically and from the earliest possible age. By the time a child is old enough to visit a park, the Disney identity connection is already years in the making. The park visit doesn't create the emotional relationship. It physically validates and deepens one that already exists. The long game, then, is this. Disney doesn't sell you a theme park visit. They sell you entry into a psychological ecosystem that generates positive emotional responses before, during, and after the experience. Walt Disney once said he didn't want Disneyland to ever be completed. He meant it architecturally. Always something new being built. Always another land on the horizon. But his Imagineers took that philosophy somewhere far more profound than construction schedules. They built a psychological experience that is designed to never feel complete because completion would mean the emotional loop was finally closed, the desire fully satisfied, and the cycle ended. And a closed loop doesn't generate repeat visits. Disney's entire long game strategy depends on maintaining a permanent sense of more. More to see, more to experience, more to give your children, more to revisit. The loop is designed to stay permanently, deliberately, and profitably open. That's not a side effect of Disney's model. That's the model. Here's what I want to leave you with. Understanding these mechanisms doesn't make Disney less enjoyable. That's not the point of this channel. The point is that when you understand how a system works, you engage with it on your own terms. You can appreciate the extraordinary sophistication of what Disney has built and make conscious choices about how much of it you want to lean into. Before you go, I want to hear from you directly. Which Disney trick got you? Drop it in the comments. Be specific. If this video changed how you see Disney, share it with one person who's planning a Disney trip right now. Not to ruin their vacation, but to make them a more conscious traveler. There's a difference.